Welcome to a Journey podcast, story, hangout, conversation time.
Yep.
I have got my very good friend, Pastor Theo Schaffer. He is in the house. Say hello,
sir.
Theo.
What's up, guys?
What's up, guys?
How you guys doing? I wish he had one of those like applause
I
sound
do.
effects in the
Wait,
back.
I do have something in there. Sound effects.
That'll make me feel better.
But you wouldn't hear it. It was totally in here.
This was fine.
I can do that post edit. I can do that. All right, we're having a cool. This has been fun. I have Theo's going to be with us on Sunday, the October 18th, and so that's going to be awesome. And I asked him to come and be a part of a conversation.
Yeah.
Just here's the deal: we can't talk about everything on Sunday morning.
Right.
Theo gets this, right? Can't talk about everything.
Yeah.
You want to talk about stuff.
Yeah.
Can't talk about everything. So that's why we do media. That's why we do these podcasts. That's why we get other times to go deep into other things.
Right.
Today we're going to talk about racial injustice. We're going to talk about the church's role in that.
Yeah.
Talk about the police's role in that. We're going to talk about, oh gosh, I've got questions from some of our partners and stuff. It's going to be great. But here's what I want us to do. Here's what I'm doing first and foremost. All right. So I'm going to dial you in on me. I do want you to understand that both Pastor Theo and I, we enjoy each other's company. We laugh a lot. We're going to kid. We're going to joke. If this is one of those topics, racial injustice and just all the things going on right now, this is one of those things that you just struggle with any type of like people not being serious enough, people not being somber enough, people not being reverent enough. This is not the podcast you want to listen to. This is not the story you want to hear. Okay.
Right.
This is not it. We want you to understand that we take these issues seriously. We do not take ourselves seriously. Okay, we don't claim to speak on behalf of white people.
Do not speak on behalf of black people.
African Americans and people of indigenous. I don't even know all the right terms, but we do not speak for them.
Right.
At all. All right. So you need to know that ahead of time. But we do want to share a little bit about our perspectives and then engage in some cool conversations. So I'm going to go first really quickly, and then I want Theo to introduce himself and share a little bit about his history. And just so you guys get to know him a little bit. I will say for me, racial issues were, in terms of how we talk about them here in the States, racial issues were very different when I grew up. Okay, I grew up in Canada. We didn't call them Canadian Americans, so that's not what we called them. You know, It's not. They were still African Americans, so or African Canadians. That's what I said. We didn't call them African Canadians. So it was a weird national thing. We were already a very mixed culture with French and English where I was in Ontario. Lots of different cultures moved into the big cities around where we were. There were prejudice. You know, I knew there was prejudices when I grew up around. I was in a little fishing village, and Portuguese. There was some prejudice stuff there. In Canada, when you make jokes. It would always be like Newfoundland, people from Newfoundland. I don't even know if I've met anybody from Newfoundland, but they were always the butt end of a joke. I know it's weird, man. It's very, very strange. So I had for me anyway, I had the opportunity when I moved to the States to kind of see things fresh. And I'll never forget going to Theo, going through a town. 45 minutes from here. Okay, 45 minutes up the road
here
in
North Carolina.
Here in North Carolina.
Okay.
Where I was told from my wife's family, that, she was my fiance at the time. They're like, well, that town has you're not gonna see any black people in that town. And I was like, again,
right,
what? And just saying, well, there's a one of the leaders of the Klan is there, and I just remember again, like hearing stories, hearing some of that. Not getting the true nature of it in Canada, where in the small town I was raised in. Yeah. But man, it was a new thing to come to. I was in Florida, then I moved up to North Carolina, and kind of seeing some of the southern, I would say, racial stuff was new to me. Never really, again, wasn't deep seated in any of my parents or any of the family stuff or even church for that matter. But it was when I got to North Carolina, there was definitely remnants of stuff here. Yeah. And I just kind of always approached it very differently. Like, I don't know why that is. Yeah. I'm not sure. Again, from a historical standpoint and a personal standpoint, didn't know where that came from. Just came in from the outside looking in. And now, of course, I lead a church and challenged to walk through conversations and these issues with people in our church. And I know you do the same.
Yeah.
So I want people to get to know you a little bit. Theo, tell them
Yeah.
your unique perspective as to how you approach this and a little bit about you.
I don't know. First of all, let me say this. Thanks for having me so much on the podcast. To our Journey fam, we love you guys. Thank you so much for having me here. I am I've been trying not to drink so much caffeine. And I am so comfortable right now.
You're so laid out.
I am.
Chilled out.
So I'm going to talk to make sure I don't nod off. But no. So I really pride myself on being qualified to talk about these things in context and share perspective, insight, and also issue challenges and moments of hope because of my upbringing, which impacts my perspective. I won't take up a lot of time, but my story is kind of a mix between Boys in the Hood, Lion King, and The Blind Side. You know what I'm saying?
Okay.
Like, if you take those three movies,
okay,
there's a little bit of Social Dispatch where
I'm picturing you like this for some reason.
Yeah.
Like,
so I'm like Simba when it starts off.
okay.
But my mother dies.
Okay.
And there's the violence that comes in and the trauma. And so I have to become a boy in the hood to survive.
Okay.
I lose my identity.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And I need a Rafiki to come and help me to remember who I am. Okay?
That's good.
And I get back to Pride Rock. And my Rafiki was my mom, who was white, also Sandra Bullock in The Blind Side, except this is basketball.
Okay.
All right?
Yeah.
So that's what gets me, yada, yada. So, guys, I grew up in Mississippi. Mississippi is still very much racist and prejudiced. I'm not casting any aspersions on anybody who still lives there, anybody I grew up with. But I literally remember in high school being told that it was a sin to date outside your race.
To date outside your race?
Yeah.
Okay.
If I dated somebody that was not black, I was sinning.
Oh, wow.
If somebody white dated me, vice versa. We would see race fights up until our junior year in high school. I remember my relatives were anti-white. I remember my uncle at the time, he's totally changed. But this is just him back in the day.
Okay.
Because of his hurt. I remember him telling me, he's like, boy, you better not bring a white girl home. And I remember my white best friends talk about how they knew a dad would come to school with a shotgun and they found out that their daughter was dating a black dude. And so prejudice, discrimination in exposure to scholarships, all that stuff. So my mother dies when I'm 7. My father gets hooked on drugs. He has nervous breakdown. So we're just exposed to all this transgenerational trauma. My brother comes back as a 16-year-old drug dealer, and so this is our life. This is our life. This is our normal. I get my father gives us up for adoption. He abandons us kind of. My aunt and uncle take us in. My aunt is Pentecostal. My uncle is African American Methodist, except for the first 3 Sundays, because at our Baptist church we got out of church early for the football game. Gotta get out of church for the football game. I remember. Right. I remember seeing deacons in church talking about some.
Right.
Hey, wrap it up, preacher. And so I just remember, man, being confused, being hurt, being angry.
Up.
Oh yeah, absolutely, yeah. Hey, get on the keyboard. Let's go home. And so I ended up struggling with anxiety and depression, running away from home, doing drugs myself, or whatever. Nothing heavy, but just trying to find some type of peace or whatever. Even though I still knew who I was. Like, bro, no lie. I would literally hear God calling me while I would go to sin. I would be walking to the park and would hear his voice. And I would ignore him or run from him. You didn't know what to do, want it, or whatever. You know, all this bad stuff happening. Yeah, I don't know. So, but I gave my life to Christ at 16. I got adopted by my mom and my best friend, who's one of my best friends to this day, one of my closest best friends, my brother Ryan. Just that incredible story. And meet Patrice, moved to Birmingham, Alabama. And so the rest is history. But all my good and bad experiences growing up in a multicultural setting, having exposure in different types of religions and faiths, and seeing the world view, from every lens you can think of, from rich, poor, middle class, upper class, white, black, young, old, literally. And most of my friends were some abstract cats. Like Matt Dawson, just an abstract cat, man, just different. And we had those
very
bonds,
different.
man.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And I never was socially allergic to someone's different beliefs or view, I would just be like, okay, bet. I would find interest in the science in it. And so anyway, all that to say, in the work I'm doing now within law enforcement, as the community liaison for CMPD and the chaplaincy supervisor, I vacillate between a lot of different lives, which allows me to view different perspectives. And at the core of all that, we're pastors.
Yes. Absolutely.
So in my heart, I'm trying to disciple and shepherd a person.
Yep.
And in order to do that, you got to put yourself in their shoes. And it's very easy for me to do, and also bring folks together.
All right. So just to go back a little bit. So 2016.
Yep.
Was it 2016? Right.
That I moved here?
No. Yeah.
The riots?
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay. So you show up.
Yep.
I know you showed up in town. You were pastoring at a different church.
Yeah. I took over this little church. Yep.
And you really, this is part of your story of even the history of your CMPD.
Literally, yeah.
But when you came in, you were seeing the riots happen downtown. Only reason I'm bringing that up is, help me understand the contrast of people who remember Ferguson. Okay, we remember Ferguson. We remember Eric. What was
Garner?
Yes, we remember these situations. We remember 2016, and now we're 2020.
Yeah.
Talk a little bit about the contrast you're seeing. 2016, you show up and you get actively engaged in trying to meet people and help in the community through the riots.
Yeah.
Now you're working at the CMPD. You're seeing all the stuff that started with George Floyd.
Yeah.
Kind of started here. It continues to happen in terms of whether it's protests, whether it was riots like it was back earlier in May and April, or May and June. I mean, is there any difference? Is it the same? Is it how have you seen it from your perspective? How between 2016 and this best?
Here's the contrast. So before the riots happened, me and my wife and our small team at this church, we were doing community work alongside our law enforcement officers and community people would come together and help us feed the homeless and mentor kids. Now, the riots and everything that happened in 2016 to now, here is from my perspective. What is different? What's different is a global frustration now, and then number two, has First Lady Tracy ever got so like mad at you, like the wife type of mad where to the point of she's just gone mad, and there's nothing, you know what I'm saying? Like
not often, but
you know what I'm saying?
It has happened.
You know how our wives get mad. Shout out to all the beautiful wives out there, all you beautiful folks get engaged. Putting up with men like us.
Yep.
Like where Patrice would get so mad, none of my tricks, none of
strategies,
none of my strategies or hugs or type of Tony Dungy speeches can get her. She just in a wrath mode, and it's almost like she's high off of her own anger. Like you know what I'm saying? Like it's just that's how it's
a self-fueling thing.
Yes, that's how it is. It's like I don't want to calm down because the last time I calmed down, nothing changed.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So, Theo, if you say you sorry, it don't mean anything because you've always said that.
Yeah.
And the other contrast is that the next generation, white and black, they don't see things the way we see it, and they're fed up too. And here's the thing we have to be careful about this generation. They will revolt.
Yeah. Yeah.
We're not gonna they're not the ones that are like they don't care.
Yeah.
They care about how they feel.
That's very true.
They don't care about they don't care about none of that, right? And so, as a contrast, man, we're in a dangerous time, in my opinion, because I'll give you one more example. It's a movie I'm thinking of. It's the classic plot where some kind of how the villain gets out, or the villain has a superpower, and they get so outraged. Phoenix from X-Men.
Yeah.
Jean Grey.
Yeah.
And there is nothing you can do.
Yeah.
And I feel like if we don't do something, we're just gonna be engulfed in the Phoenix's flames.
Yeah.
And media will continue to throw gasoline on the fire.
I don't disagree.
Right.
Yeah,
And that's just it. Like last time in 2016, here's the last thing I'll say. Last time after 2016, there was a lot of productive work established and done.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay.
And it felt like things would change.
Yeah.
But then 2020 happens, and it set everything back.
Yeah.
And it feels like, I don't know if this is gonna.
Well, there are probably both things happening, right? There was productive things happening that was changing.
Yeah.
But there were still things not right. Then 2020 just uncovered again the stuff that's just not right.
It's because we're human and we live in this life.
Yeah.
There's gonna be more stuff. Stuff is gonna happen.
Yeah.
But again, that's the contrast. This man's like, man, our hope took a hit. You know?
Yeah.
Our hope took a hit. And so which leaves me looking back at the one thing I think that can turn things around is, in my perspective, the church.
Yeah. It's good.
Church.
It's good, man.
Yeah. So yeah, we need a spiritual type of Avengers movement. We need we can't fight this with flesh and blood anymore.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And for any believer who's watching or listening, you have to be like Christ from a strategy sense, and that is, and I'm not trying to go too ahead of where we're going here, Matt, but Jesus Christ was 100% God, 100% man.
Yep.
He had to walk in that duality of his divinity, so he can eat and drink wine with the guys, I guess, if you want to say he drank wine or whatever, but he can calm the sea. I may get in trouble for that.
Yeah.
Okay, I take that back. I didn't say he drank it. I'm just saying, if you want to hang out, eat fish with the guys, the disciples,
yeah,
but you also need to be God enough to calm the sea. And so for us as believers, we have to be both spiritual enough to still evangelize, get the gospel out, disciple people, and help them through the spiritual wars, but then too natural enough to walk alongside people and meet them where they are.
Yep.
You know what I'm saying? And that may mean that God may be calling you to walk in a protest or walk in a march with a friend. Yeah. He may be like something you can do to walk in the natural side with them that will add more credibility to the spiritual. So yeah, but anyway, I'll park there, big bro. I'll park that, Femo.
Well, I'll tell you what. I'll tell you what's good. So here, just to let everybody know, I did have some folks at our church give questions.
Yeah.
Asked a couple of staff folks give questions. We had some great folks ask some questions.
Yeah.
Pastor Theo did not want to hear any of these questions.
Nope, didn't.
We're going right off the cuff.
Let's do it.
And I'll rephrase the recap that we do not speak for. I do not speak for every white church in America.
And I don't speak for all my black folks. No, I do not speak for Wakanda.
But we are going to talk about how it works in the church.
Yeah.
What we're seeing working and not working in the church. We're going to talk about there is a dividing line between how the church maybe approaches something and how culture is approaching something. Black Lives Matter is a big deal in terms of our culture. In terms of how they're saying, okay, we're going to plant the flag here. Okay, and I'm not going to talk about the difference between the organization versus the movement itself, which most people, I think we can agree that most people don't have any idea that there's an organizational movement that's got all sorts of problems. The phrase and the movement itself around that phrase is to bring value and to bring worth and to help promote the conversation.
Yes.
So I understand that, but that because of all the things that culturally have attached themselves to that phrase, it's a very difficult thing to do in the church.
Yeah.
No, I'm not preaching a sermon called all Black Lives Matter.
Yeah.
Because before I even got a chance to talk in a sermon, before I even got a chance to bring it up, you come in with all your baggage, with all the stuff that's been attached to this thing. And it makes it very difficult for the church to engage in culture, like you said, to engage in culture without having all the baggage of culture that culture has now put on these things, on the, well, you're so-and-so, and that's all you know, and it's crazy. I thought, let's go back to Black Lives Matter. I think you had a story about your...
my grandfather.
Yes.
Yeah.
All right, so let me rephrase it, and then I'll let you tell your story. For me, I was struggling. I think I shared it with you.
Yeah.
I didn't put BLM on any of my stuff. I was like, I had a hard time distinguishing between organizational stuff and just the movement, the heart. And I don't think it was until I kind of, when they did the artwork uptown, I was kind of landing on, you know what, like, I don't disagree with this. I was never the person that was going to argue all lives matter versus Black Lives Matter.
Yeah.
Somebody asked me, how you feel when that phrase is stated, like all lives matter. And I remembered that story with your grandfather. So just give a quick little snippet of, that was a conversation you did have.
Yeah. So my grandfather, I call him Papa Bear, is not only my friend, but he's the grandfather that raised me. Now, I had 3 biological grandparents. Theophilus the first. He didn't have any part of my life. God rest his soul. Shout out to my family members there. My mother's father, William, we never had a relationship. And then Papa Mickey, who I had a relationship with, I didn't get a chance to grow up with him. You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
And that was a blessing to what he meant to my family, what he means to my family. But my grandfather, Robert Giles, that's the one who raised me. That's my dude. That's my guy. And so we're very close.
Papa, you said?
Call him Papa Bear.
Papa, okay.
That's my dude. So he'll check on us in the family and send emails, and I'll try to get to him when I can. So one day I finally get a chance to check his email, right? This a couple months ago. And I check my email. I'm like, okay, Granddad wants me to watch a video. Cool. I'll watch it. And I hit him back, whatever. I wasn't thinking anything of it. I clicked the video, and it was Candace Owens.
Right.
And at the time, I didn't really know who she was. I start watching this video, and I am livid. I'm not hot about what she's saying. People can have their own perspectives and opinions. What I'm upset about is that, did my grandfather actually watch this the whole way through?
Right.
And he sent this to me? Hey, Granddad, no, sir. This is not the move, Granddad. So I tried to hold my peace or whatever. I emailed my family back, and I went off. And I said, if you have a problem, call me. Granddad calls.
All right.
And we have our first fight, I think, ever. And it stunned our family. And I had to call my mom. Me and my mom, we walked through it, and we cried together. And she had to remind me how much he loves me.
Yeah.
And that was, I don't think, see, Granddad's perspective was, he was trying to portray the idea that the whiplash response
right
of society is so overwhelming when you don't have all the facts.
Yeah.
Taken total out of context. And then I get it when you've been a beneficiary of the way things have been, even though you're not a bad person in your heart.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden now it feels like the world is attacking you based on what somebody else did. I get it.
Yeah.
And my grandfather was also going through some things at their church and all that. It's just been a lot for everybody.
Yeah.
Idiosyncratically. At the time, I didn't have the grace or the capacity to even care what he was going through.
Right.
And I shared with him an example of what it's like as a wife who is so upset at your husband because he repeatedly keeps doing things. And then you sit down and talk to your husband about it. And all of a sudden, he just goes off to tell you his point of view. And it's like, what's frustrating as his wife is that he's not even listening. Yeah. That's what hurts the most. Yes. Is that this whole time you've been pouring your heart out, dude hasn't been listening. I know, Patrice. I know. This is, you know what I'm saying? I know.
Talking to myself
right
here.
Right, that Theo is so stuck on his point of view.
Yeah.
That he couldn't even be there for his wife to hear her heart and sit in the hurt with her and help her figure it out. Like, I wasn't listening. I'm not an active listener. And that's what it's like being black.
Right.
That's what it's like when
you were feeling that with your grandfather.
Yes. Like and I said, Granddad, that's what Black America feels like. I said, Granddad, Drew Brees wasn't wrong to say all lives matter.
Right.
Because they do.
Right.
But right now isn't the time.
Right now is not the time.
It's not the time. So that's what that experience was about, man. And we're good now. We're cool now.
So you and your grandfather are good.
Yeah, we're cool
okay.
now, man.
Right.
I want to go see him, but yeah. So that was that story. I don't know if.
Well, let me follow it up with this, because we were having a conversation about white privilege. Okay.
Yep.
And the problem with white privilege, this is my perspective. Okay. The problem with white privilege, it has been that it ceased becoming something about listening, and it grew into something about guilt. So people talk about white guilt. I don't think I mean it the same way that I'm saying it.
Yeah.
But people talk about white guilt stuff. But for me, I went, okay, listen, like I think there was a video, there's a real popular video my friends were sharing. and it was a bunch of people on a field.
The race?
Yeah. And it was a bunch of people on the field, and the guy was like, if you had two parents, take 4 steps forward. If you
race
had,
thing,
yeah. It was all different people, and it was like, if you had this, if you had that, and then they wanted me to, like, turn around and see what your privilege, blah, blah. And I struggle with it because, I'd see people share, and I'm just like, I don't think that is the purpose of, number one, I don't think it was the reason people brought up the white privilege idea anyway. Yeah. The fact that people have weaponized it or used it to try to make people feel guilty.
Right.
Or to try to make people feel like, like you should feel bad about how blessed you are. That has been a really big deal in terms of I know for many people I've had a conversation with, okay, they go back. We're not going into full critical race stuff or all that sort of thing, but we are going into the fact that most people when they hear it, white privilege, whatever the case is, they feel like it's being used against them and not being used from a standpoint of you need to be aware and be listening to the fact that I am absolutely privileged. For sure.
Yeah.
Okay. We have some friends that run their own podcasts, and they're African American. They've purchased their own homes. They've done their thing. They're doing very well with careers and everything else. And even they say that they don't call it white privilege, but they say I can't get past the privilege that I have. Like I live in this. My brother does not. My cousin does not. Does that make sense? Like they're going down if they were in the video, they would be all the way to the end.
Yeah.
So it wasn't an issue of white privilege; it was an issue of privilege. And so I made the same comment later on. I was just like, you know what? For me, it's wrong to weaponize it.
Yeah.
Okay. I've seen people on social media take your privilege and blah blah blah. I'm like, it's wrong to weaponize it. The whole idea of the white privilege of bringing the awareness was to ask people to listen.
Yeah.
Right? Going back to the conversation. We need people to listen.
Yeah.
Because there are some things that still aren't right. And part of that privilege, it's not exclusively anything. It's not exclusively white. It's not exclusively, regardless of what people want to tell you. But it is true. And it is needed. So how have you, this is my opinion of it.
Okay.
How have you had to respond to people that, I don't know if you've ever said that to somebody, but how have you had to respond even to your church members who struggle with that?
There's a thing, and you might have heard of it, where it's a movement about getting white people to denounce their whiteness.
What?
You ever heard that?
No, I've not heard that.
What?
I'm lost then.
It is a whole movement, and it's a curriculum behind it. Yeah, it's a curriculum behind it and everything. And there's a camp growing in America where they are teaching and disseminating this.
Okay.
That
to denounce
your
my whiteness. Okay.
Yeah. Not whiteness is in your ethnicity, but all of the benefits or the cognizance that because you are white, blase, blase, blase. Okay. And it's a whole curriculum behind it. Now, okay.
Oh, man. I've not heard that. So, yes.
It breaks my heart.
Yeah.
That humanity is so pridefully trying to not turn to Jesus.
Sure.
That we're becoming victims of our own devices. We're so innovative. It's almost like technology. We create more tech that helps us do things, that's designed to help us do things better. Social media is designed to bring us closer. Bioscience is designed to help us really become eternal. Ultimately, you're trying to, whatever. But it just leads us further away from God, further away from the point. My point in saying this is that every year people come out with new philosophies or a different way of strategizing or packaging something. And denouncing whiteness is, in my opinion, the dumbest thing ever. It is so ungodly. You want my mom, my mom who is white, you want her to denounce the human origin and pathway that God, the sovereign Savior, birthed her in this world too.
Right. Yeah.
No.
I know.
Now, do my white brothers and sisters need to be aware? It's like, don't refuse to acknowledge that there have been some things set up in this country.
Sure.
From the 14, 15, 16, 1700s and on that have leaned in the white Americans' favor. It's just fact. It is. And it wasn't just African Americans. It was Asians, Middle Easterns who were trying to apply for citizenship.
Indigenous.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So we get that. All right, just acknowledge that and sit in that with us and be a part of the change. Like implicit bias and discrimination, little things like being aware of what's wrong or wrongdoing.
Right.
You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And being a proponent of change. Teaching your children. Going back to your children. All right. That's what it should be. Walking side by side and figuring this thing out together. But also at the same time, too, I am also not for this movement that wants to censor everything.
Oh, no, yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Fire people, take them down. Oh, because I'm going to tell you
cancel culture.
Bruh,
you know?
Oh, my God.
Oh, yeah.
Like, okay, a part of me wants to be a comedian, okay?
Okay.
And Matt, you know why I can't be a comedian?
Why not?
The same reason why I can't go gambling.
Okay.
Because I'm gonna be Theo. And on that stage, I'm going to say some things.
Sure. That's why you're a pastor.
Yeah. So I have to sneak my Dave Chappelle quotes in there. It's like we're so fickle and immature that I wish I come up with a Matt phrase. It's like we're addicted to the hype, like a mob.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like Stefan and Beauty and the Beast. We just want to be a part of tearing stuff down.
Yeah.
And we're missing the whole point.
And that goes back to what you said earlier about the next generation.
Man, yeah.
They, and this is not me being too crazy, but when you see colleges and high schoolers and, younger have that deconstructionist mentality.
Yes, man.
The immaturity, and I say that in the right way.
In the right way,
immaturity meaning they're just not there yet. They haven't had enough experiences yet.
A lot of zeal not according to knowledge.
Correct.
Right?
Yes. And so I look at all that and go, the immaturity, the deconstruction that's in them to tear down what's broken is powerful.
Yeah.
Right? But like you said in that earlier example, they have no plan for how to make it better. And part of that goes back to the immaturity. They don't actually know. They don't actually know what would solve it. They just know it's broken. Right. And a certain amount of our next generation is like, well, then burn it all up. Tear it all down.
It's a song that embodies that. I throw my car into a bridge.
Yeah.
I don't care. That's that generation.
Yeah.
They're only about how they feel. And me, you talk about this online.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not finna put Black Lives Matter up on our website on this stuff.
Right.
And if you go to Grace Church's website, same thing there.
Right.
Because what you want to do is pressure my white big brother, my white pastor friend who pressure him and get up there and denounce this. Get up there and do. Yeah. And for what?
Yeah.
To make you feel better?
Right.
For what? Now, you don't know what Journey Church is doing behind the scenes, and you really don't care.
And that's true. They don't care.
You see what I'm saying?
True. Yep.
So it's like, so for our community at Grace, I have to point us all back to Christ, and it's a hard thing to do. You got to give a lot of stuff up, and I'm the first partaker. Like my people, sometimes I feel like, I'm not saying they do. Sometimes I feel like my people, my family at Grace, they. Like Pastor Theo is superhuman.
Yeah.
Like when I get ready to feed them and shepherd them and walk them through something that I don't have no, I'm struggling too. And I think we talked about this. I struggled several months this year. Like I got off Facebook because I was struggling.
Yep.
But Jesus said, man, unless you deny yourself, pick up your cross.
Yep.
And you have no part with him. So like while I'm leading y'all where Christ is, I'm denying Theo a lot of stuff. Man, I want to fight. I want to get angry. I want to go off. I want to cut. I mean, I want to be like Peter and just
take an ear right off.
But I can't do that and follow him.
Yeah.
But I mean, and that's the thing, man, today. Like, and so right now, I feel like even with the election coming up, a lot of Christians don't know what it really means to follow him because, man, yes, it's important to vote. Definitely go vote.
Yeah. But
that junk pales in comparison. If you're going to follow, you got to wear this world like a loose garment. And, yeah.
Your church, Grace Charlotte, is planted and is intentional.
Yep.
You want to be a multi-ethnic, diverse congregation.
Yeah.
Okay. And you have some white families that are
Yep.
part of your church. You are predominantly currently
African-American. Yep.
African-American. And we would look at that and say, that's so great. Good job, Theo. Planted diverse church.
Yeah.
Journey Church, planted in Huntersville, okay, suburbia, has a few families, indigenous, African American, people of color, things like that. All the spectrums. We have a few families. We're predominantly a white church, okay, in a white suburb. We would never be called a diverse church. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Never, Theo. Like, it had to be 50-50 to even get close to being called a diverse church.
Yeah.
But the fact that your church is intentionally planning that.
Yeah.
And I've always found that very interesting, right? I've always found, I have plenty of pastors I've met over the years through coaching and all that want to plant, diverse congregations. It's very difficult to do. It's a very difficult task. But I've also seen African-American pastors and Korean pastors and, we've seen churches that gather refugees of, Russian refugees together and all that. And they have zero desire to be diverse. Zero. And I struggle with that. Okay, does that make sense? Like, I struggle. Like, to me, I've always told people in terms of our church, I said, look, I just want to, I would love it. It would make me feel like we're following the mission of Christ if our church represents the community we serve.
Amen.
Okay? I see it as a way of going, I don't know why it's not better and why certain groups are perfectly fine. Meeting with their like-minded, like-skinned, like political, whatever thing, and I see others making an effort.
Yeah.
How do you see it? Do you see it as broken? Do you see it as something that's a picture of culture, or just maybe something that's not helping culture?
I think it's stupid.
All right, there you go.
I don't get it.
Okay, so we both don't get it.
Like, it's 2020 for my predominantly, and we're walking through offenses, right, and how not to get offended. I'm about to offend somebody.
Okay, there you go. All right. Just say no offense, but.
No offense, but. I got like it. No offense, but. People. There has to be intentionality.
Yeah.
It's simple. For example, at Grace, like, we just launched in October. We need.
Happy birthday, by the way.
Thank you, broski.
Yeah.
We need.
Birthday month.
I know. We need to be able to hire. I told I was telling my pastor friends, I was like, hey man, do you have anybody on your staff that you can let us borrow for a few months?
Yep.
He said, yeah, man, I'm see you. I said, no. I said, don't send me any more black people. And we both laughed, but he knew I was serious. It's like, because God got some people in the kingdom. That's a brother right now. He's Middle Eastern. He worships at this church in Independence area, Ethiopian church. I've been trying to get him for the longest. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
He presents a challenge.
Yeah.
So funny. We went to worship with them, and Patricia's like, "Hey, we out of here. We are not for the stage." I was like, "Babe, just come a little more." She's like, "No, we are out of here." But we have to be intentional. Like, okay, I don't get it when a predominantly African American church. Okay, bishop. Okay, pastor.
Yeah.
You 100% black. You are also a part of the problem.
Yeah.
Like, bro, this don't look like Christ either. And there was one church I saw where they had a men's ministry. Like a men's outreach ministry, like guys who were getting hooked off drugs, like in halfway homes.
Yeah. And
they would bring them to the church. Now, some of them were white and Latino. No, man, like, also take the gospel to suburbia. You don't have to do this. You don't have to do ministry just at the Section 8 homes.
Correct.
You see what I'm saying? Like, so it baffles me with the intentionality. I think, like, what we need at Grace, like, I want to be able to hire staff. And I already know the next people we are able to hire part-time or whatever, they're not going to be African-American. They're going to be women, or they're going to be white or another ethnicity. Number two, I got to trust God.
Yeah.
I got to trust God.
Well, he said he's going to build the church.
He did.
He's going to build
bro.
it.
And I just, I don't, I struggle with that. I struggle seeing churches who are homogenous And I'm like you in this. I don't do fake. Don't do the frou-frou. Like,
right.
Oh, we did I brought my white pastor friends in my black church, and we did you know what I'm saying?
We did a unity service. Sorry.
Look at my face.
I don't see you. I know.
You know what I'm saying? Like,
I know.
Like, nah, man. Okay. I don't want to just tear folks up. Here's the thing.
We don't get it. Neither one of us get it. We want it to change.
Well, here's my like I said.
All right, go ahead.
Here's my problem. Not doing anything is unacceptable.
Right. You
cannot keep doing what you've been doing.
Yeah.
It's not cool. And guess what? The next generation, they see it. And there are going to be there are already African-American millennials who are leaving traditional African-American churches.
Sure.
Because they see it.
Yep.
And they're going to be millennial, white, Latino, who are going to leave their home bases because they see what's happening on YouTube.
Yeah.
The officer-involved shootings, the racial unrest. And then when they go to church, it's like, yo. Yeah, so, man, I don't want to lose that Joshua and Caleb generation, bro. I really don't want to see them lost. And they won't be lost because they were not introduced to them.
Right.
They're gonna be so those are gonna leave the church because of us.
Well, and that goes back to that. It's an example.
Yeah.
Right. What Joshua and Caleb were dealing with 10 other folks that were driven by fear. And so that's all they saw. They saw nothing but people being driven by fear.
That's so good, man.
And they sat there and said, that's not the way we should be.
Right.
And God honored them. You know, and that took 40 years.
Yeah.
But God honored them. That's true.
I think of the next generation like my little brothers and sisters.
Yeah.
They're so passionate.
Yeah.
But what happens when we leave and we're off the scene, bro? Like, I don't want them in attempts to try to do it right to still be off base.
Yeah.
They still need us to guide them.
They need wisdom.
They need fathering.
Yeah.
They really do. But we're pushing them away to their own passions, and it's gonna be wild. It's gonna be wild, man. Because they're still as much as they have good intentions.
Yeah.
They're still struggling with identity.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
And we know part of what you said earlier about bringing them to Christ is that, you know, I will struggle with how do I talk about identity without constantly pointing people back to, but our identity is in Christ.
Yeah.
Paul said it so many times. There's no slave or Gentile, slave or free. There's no Jew or Gentile. There's no barbarian or civilized. We are one in Christ, and therefore that identity should, and I think even Priscilla Shire said that one time, like that identity should supersede all other identities. And our young next generation just are not, they don't see it that way.
Yeah.
Maybe that's not maybe they're not seeing a good example of that, which is true.
They're not. Let me share one more thing with you. So this is what's going on in the African American particular community in the body of Christ. There's a Hebrew Israelite movement.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. And the movement is founded upon this premise. And I'm going to get some context.
Okay.
Not sharply on point, but generalization. Here it is. Because we all come out of Africa or Egypt, right? It's similar to the Rastafarian belief system that the God's original people were black people.
Okay.
Now, God's original people are black people, and what they do is they take it and run with it.
Okay.
And about the true identity of the Hebrews, true identity of Moses, and we're descendants of okay, I'm with you. I'm with you. This is where they lose me. They get so far in their pursuit of blackness that they leave Jesus Christ. Watch this. And it's such a concern of mine as a pastor, because some of my people are African American, and because of the natural trauma and passion and the need for righteousness in the earth realm, social justice, racial equality,
equity,
and so too, it's like that. It's like that kid who didn't become valedictorian, so he ended up starting a church. you need the affirmation. You need the validation.
Right.
So you vicariously use God's stuff as a way to find self-fulfillment. And there's a generation of young and millennial black people who are searching for affirmation and validation, and they're finding it with twisted history. I'm not denouncing history.
Right.
But when you go so far that way that you get far from Jesus Christ, now we got a problem.
Yeah.
We got an issue. Upon this rock is going to build this church.
Yep.
One of my aunts, I love my aunt. I love her dearly. She is so pro-black. She's become anti-white. And that is off. Johnny James, a very famous wordsmith in the Pentecostal community, he always says, almost right is always wrong.
It's true.
And it's a scary thing because black people are hurting. But remember how they told Paul, like, man, much study has made you mad, dude. Like, you have to be careful. And then one scripture, I think it might have been Jesus talking about this. He was like, be careful not to absorb so much information. Yeah. Because it'll pull you away from God, your relationship, the Shema, Hero Israel, the Lord our God is one. You should love him with all your heart, soul, and might. And it reminds me of this generation, man, like they're searching. And but you can't get too far from him in your response to what's happening in the social climate.
Yeah, I think. Let me shift
gears. I know I went a ways too.
It's us.
Okay.
We can do whatever we want to do.
Gotcha.
No, there were some questions that came up, and I thought it was good about allies.
Yeah.
Okay, about being a good ally.
All right.
And I'm gonna ask several of them.
Shoot away.
Just so that we can talk about it.
Yeah.
And specifically, these were for you.
Okay.
What's the best thing they can do to be a good ally? What's the worst thing you've seen people do?
Ally of who?
Ally for our friends and people of color. Like how do white people best champion, support, walk with, help our friends? Okay. So hold on. Keep going.
Okay.
So worst thing they can do, best thing you've seen people do. How can they help when there's a situation where you feel like, or maybe you personally have felt like this, where you've had to sort of self-censor, yourself, in a situation of primarily white spaces or things like that, and maybe that's something you can talk about even for work. I mean, if you ever felt that way when you were at work. The other one is, best energy. Like we see a lot of people doing stuff on social media. I'm going to forward every post. I'm going to highlight every post. I'm going to do that.
Am I on camera yet?
Yeah, you're on camera.
Look at me roll my eyes.
Yeah. Is that the best energy use, or is it individually in relationships and, with your friends, with your, I mean, sadly you sit there and go, when my friend circle doesn't really change, but I'm posting 87 things a day on, being an ally to our black brothers and sisters, and, BLM, but our circle doesn't change, or nothing really changes there. So let's talk about how we spend that energy.
Okay.
And just in terms of being an ally. So give me your thoughts on it.
Yeah. Here we go. So I'm a storyteller and I talk in pictures. Go back to the podcast in the beginning when I used the wife example.
Yes.
If you were a wife and you were so upset at your husband, I mean, he hurt you, broke your heart, whatever case was, what would you want him to do? It's definitely not talking. You know what I'm saying? Like, you have no opinions.
No more words.
Yeah, dude. It is, you do not, you know what I'm saying? So stop talking. Be present. And you may have to be present for weeks before you have that equity, that emotional, social equity. Mm-hmm. I teach this. As a matter of fact, I have a brand new training coming out called Remix. It's going to be publishing real here soon.
Right.
How to do what you guys are asking. And part of the thing I teach is called the Atm Principle.
Okay.
You can't take money out of an ATM machine until you've made deposits.
Sure.
You have to make deposits. Well, Pastor Theo, what are deposits? They are social and emotional currency that you put inside. Okay. So if a African-American community has an event, first of all, find out who the leaders are. Make sure it's alignment in the beliefs is what they're trying to accomplish.
Okay, yeah.
And go get involved. Go volunteer. Don't ask a thing. Don't show up. Go show up and go serve. Go serve. Then follow up.
Mm-hmm.
Go get a coffee with the same people. Follow up and repeat the process, and you're making deposits.
Okay.
Every day we drive by local apartments and homes.
Yep.
Right? You should go buy a meal, buy groceries. Right? Knock on the door. Get out of your comfort zone. Find the local African American pastor in ways you can help them and give off. And don't wait on your pastor to do it.
Yeah.
Because a lot of times we hide behind our churches and our leaders.
Yep.
When God is, and I tell my folks this at church all the time, at Grace, it's not just my job to evangelize or Patrice's job, it's y'all job too. Like, hey, if we shut Grace down, you're still called to go make disciples.
Still called, absolutely.
That is individualistic.
Yep.
So don't wait on Pastor Matt or Journey Church to have a campaign initiative, because what you do in secret, God rewards you in the open.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know what I'm saying? And it might be a season for you to shake up your friends. All right. Another thing you could do is find local African American led small businesses and nonprofits.
Right.
Put your money where your mouth is. Don't ask for anything in return, and just be consistent. I'm not saying don't need a whole bunch of money. I'm just saying patronize. Have your community meeting, or have your book club, or your guys' night out, or your ladies' night at, and I love like my coffee shops in Huntersville.
Yeah.
But find you a small black owned.
Right.
And host it there. Right. Patrice always teaches, man, we don't do what we do to be seen, but you need to be seen doing it. It's just a lot of intentionality there as far as what you can do.
Hold on, repeat that one more time. We don't do what we do to be seen.
But
that's virtue posturing.
Right.
Yeah.
But you need to be seen doing it.
But we need to be seen doing it. Okay.
Right? You need to be seen with, and listen, man, like, I got in trouble with a lot of Christian people, a lot of pastors in churches. A lot of them didn't even support our church plan because of this. Because I said it publicly and over. If there were brothers of mine who were Islam or Muslim who were feeding the homeless, I would go and help them.
And that was going to be a problem.
It was going to offend somebody.
Yep.
And y'all are totally missing Jesus' point with the Good Samaritan.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like so, because going back to the question, how can we, I just gave you a bunch of examples.
Yeah.
And if you want to know how it feels, do to your brothers and sisters of color what you want your husband to do for you. Be present, right?
Yep.
Find out your love languages. Find out what actually resonates at home. Because everything don't hit home. I've been telling CMPD's police department for a long time.
Yeah.
Like, hey, this stuff we put on social media is whack. I love y'all, but like, it's not resonating.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
There's no silver bullet to this.
Not at all. Yeah. This is cute. And Pastor Theo, what do you think about this? Yeah, I like it because I understand social media.
Right.
And I also was raised by a white family.
Sure.
So I genuinely like it. But the people who it needs to hit home for, like right now, there's a picture on Instagram by our police department. There's a white police officer on there.
Yeah.
Cute. Great. Woohoo. You know what I'm saying? Like, no, that's not it. You need to be seen, and you need to be intentional. And I would say this too for my believers here at Journey: lift up the arms of your leadership, Pastor Matt, and the entire team here, because they're doing a great stuff. They're doing great work. You should get involved with that. You should take some things off of their plate and own that. The Greg Jacksons of the world who have Hill Charlotte,
man, he's amazing,
right?
Yeah.
Like, don't wait on your. You know what I'm saying? Like,
yep.
We all, if everybody does a little bit, nobody has to do a lot, and you just have to just go.
Yeah.
And God to do the rest, man. God to do the rest.
Well, let me ask you. So, you
Talk
brought up something which is good.
Okay.
So people were asking about being a good ally and kind of where to spend that energy, which I think is good.
I hope I answered,
present.
man.
Yeah, well, be present is the answer you gave, and I think part of that goes back to. So one person specifically asked, "Hey, listen, I'm trying. This is for people. This is part of the reason we did this podcast.
Yeah,
people want
and there's such thing as a bad idea too. Now, sometimes what's a great idea for my white brothers and sisters,
right?
Ask, survey, research. Come get to your survey group. Ask somebody black, like, hey, what do you think about? We're gonna go and do this.
Yeah,
don't do that.
Well, and that was one of the things they said is specifically was, hey, I don't want to ask my indigenous and black and people of color. I don't want to have to constantly ask them to explain things to me.
Why not?
Well, I think at the end of the day, it feels the same way. People are like, well, I don't speak for all black people. I don't speak for all white people. I think it's this idea of what are good resources, either local Charlotte Metro places, organizations that are good resources to serve, to get more information, to see how things actually are, or whether it's books or things that you've given to people before, that these are good resources.
Okay. Now,
if you don't constantly want to be like, Susie, come tell me how this,
tell me
why this offends you, because it may not offend them. Like you said, that may be a cute picture.
All right, so I'm a book guy, but not like Pastor Matt. Pastor Matt, like, is a connoisseur.
No, gosh.
I collect them, and I'm gonna get to them eventually. I collect them.
Woo! That's a nice bookshelf, Theo. That's a nice bookshelf.
I have an awesome my library is dope.
Fantastic.
I just got to get to them books.
You just got to read them.
Yeah, I got to read the books. So what I do is I'll get the census and the pictures of them, and I'll get it from a 30,000 foot view.
Yeah.
And
through osmosis?
And I just go.
Just sleep on it?
So a great book to pick up is Building a Healthy Multi-Ethnic Church by Mark Demise. And you don't have to be a pastor to want
That's
the book.
good. Yeah.
It's a good read because it opens you up from a missional perspective, how to approach. So good resources, people to call. There's Veronica Washington at Northside Baptist Church. There is Willis Drondry, aka Big Red the Voice at Master Cuts
Big
Barbershop.
Red, love him.
Yeah. Of course, the Great Jackson. There's a few others. I'm trying to think of people that I could trust with your time and energy. I don't want to see to an angry black man. Don't go to them.
Yep.
I'll go to them. Just call me. Send me an email. I see a bullet list. It's a bunch of them. And we hungry. You know what I'm saying?
Well, I'll tell you, I'll just share this from my own perspective as well. And part of this has been even Theo and I getting to know each other better and loving each other better and trying to support one another. Is the idea that I believe your energy is best spent probably where people won't see it.
Yeah.
So it doesn't need to be, shout out on Instagram and all the time. Like,
right.
Do the things that matter.
Yeah.
Most of the problems, the injustices, the issues we are seeing.
Yeah.
Okay. The issues that I think people are protesting. There are people protesting it well.
Yeah.
And talking about it well. Most of those seem so big and so out of our control.
Yeah.
That I would say this, most white people that I talk to.
Yeah.
They don't even it's so beyond them. They don't even see what they could do to make a difference. And I think you said it earlier, which I thought was good, is that doing nothing just isn't an option.
Right.
So just making the investment, just reading the book, just engaging in some way, shape, and form with people that you can trust, or that you get through Theo and some other contacts we have, the people that you can trust, that's going to continue to move things forward.
Right.
Okay, that's just around. And what most people want to know, well, how's the church going to, be a part of changing this? Well, I think it's going to be as slow as it has been unfolding the influence of the church. The unfolding of the lack of influence of the church has taken a long time.
Yeah.
And I don't think it's going to happen overnight,
right,
where the church again is going to be the primary influence in people's lives. But it can start with you.
Yeah.
And it can go to your friend, and it can go to your other friend.
Yep.
And it can continue to build, as discipleship always does. It multiplies.
That's it.
Because that's what Jesus did, right?
That's what he did.
It multiplies the fact that you can make a difference, and that difference can have a multiplied effect and impact in the future. That's Grace's mission, right? Like discipling people and impact. We want to have an impact on people's lives. All right, I'm going to go down the next. This is going down the CMPD route. Okay?
All right.
Had a couple people ask specifically about that. Now, this is primarily because I think most people. I don't know. I don't say most. I have no concept or clue. I'll tell you personally, myself.
Okay.
I think for the majority of what I see in law enforcement, I think people are absolutely doing the best they possibly can.
Yeah.
And I do not believe there is a massive gap of injustice and inequality towards any race or individual in the majority of law enforcement.
Okay.
Do I acknowledge that there is and has been? Absolutely. Like, there's far too much history to see how power is abused.
Yeah.
Okay, and let's just face it, police authority is power.
Yeah.
And any one person can abuse their power.
Yeah.
And ruin it for an entire department.
Yeah.
Right? So one person did ask, and I thought it was a great question. It was, they believe that the justice system is broken when it comes to people of color, but they don't understand how, a black person on the force fits into that problem. Okay? So they're struggling with it's broken. This is not working. There's systemic issues here. There's long past injustice here. They don't know how to reconcile with black people who are on the force.
I totally get. I get it.
Okay.
I get it. Trying to reconcile, but there are black officers, supervisors, who are doing a great work. They wanted to get on the force to make a difference, and they're doing that. And it's difficult for them. And I'm not a cop,
right?
But I'm so close to them.
Sure.
Like, there are lieutenants who are mothers who have black sons. There are captains who are black fathers who have black daughters. It's not easy, but they believe in something. And you got to understand, the system isn't. I mean, for us, it's broken.
Sure.
It ain't broken.
Right.
It's working. You know what I'm saying? It's working.
Right.
It's
sure.
working.
Sure.
It's not, and a lot of times the police department itself are beneficiaries from a system that was designed to work for who it's supposed to work for. But you have two choices, man: fight or flight. What do you do?
Yeah.
Right? You're a young college athlete, black, and you don't get drafted and go pro. Maybe you hurt your knee, but you have a passion for kids. But you also need money.
Mm-hmm.
What do? You get introduced to law enforcement. Come to find out you love it.
Yeah.
Now you're a community coordinator, and the overall picture isn't right, but you're doing your part locally.
Right.
And I don't now. I'll tell you a question on top of that. Great question is, I don't know how the black officers even do it.
Okay.
That's a different level of integrity, man. To see what's happening to black people and then put on a uniform in that riot gear. Let me show you. I'm going to tell you a picture. I'm going to show you a picture. There's a black mother of 3 in riot gear as they are hurling bottles, Molotov cocktails, rocks, slurs, guns out, and they're out there in the streets for 12 hours. You know what I'm saying?
Yep. And getting told that they're the problem.
Their kid, some of my closest friends are officers, and their mothers. And one of them I think about all the time because she's the closest to me and Patrice, and we pray for her every day. Yeah, because it would break my heart. It would crush me if something happened to her. Yeah, because she's a beautiful mother and a wife to her. She's somebody else's mom. Yeah, somebody else's wife. Yeah, and every time she goes to work, she's running to the danger to protect and serve. Yep. While seeing what happened to George Floyd and the list goes on. That's a whole different level of grace, man, they have. And so, kudos to them. I don't know how they do that, but they're not. Okay, I'm going to say this, and this is my opinion.
Okay. They asked for your opinion. That's it.
Sweet. Yeah. So, I want you guys to hear my opinion.
I don't think we solved the problem, but we can have your opinion.
In my opinion, the police are not the problem.
Sure.
They're not the problem.
Sure.
So they also, police can't fix problem. If you take away police, it doesn't fix sin. Nope. Which doesn't fix the wages of sin. It's there's this movement where they want us, they're thinking about, okay, if y'all take some of the money out of community engagement programming.
Yeah, that's the put defunding in the community.
Part. Yeah, and I get some of that, and there's some of that I agree with. Some pieces of that. Okay, right. Just as far as how to do it and how to do it right. But you know what the problem is? The love of money.
That's true. Yeah,
it ain't even a whole lot of it actually. You think it's a whole lot of it.
It ain't that much.
It's not.
Yeah.
But you just, so it's That's not the problem. So great question. I hope I answered it. Is pray for our officers, man.
Yeah.
Not all of them are bad.
And good.
And here's the last part that makes them good, is that trying to get better.
That's good.
And learn.
Yep.
Right?
Yeah.
Why would they bring on a preacher?
Yeah.
To help trying to do something different,
yeah.
right? And if people would stop attacking law enforcement and get involved with law enforcement, I can very easily much influence you when I'm closer to you.
Yep.
The ATM principle.
Yep.
I mean, a lot of folks who want change, they don't even understand how to get it.
Yep.
You know what I'm saying? Like,
yep.
Yeah. So, yeah, man, I'm proud of CMPD.
That's good, dude.
Yeah.
All right. Last one. No, second to last one.
Okay.
Tell us how you're working with local leaders, nonprofit leaders, faith leaders. You're working with them right now on how they can be a part of.
Matt.
I know, dude. That's why we're almost done. You're working with them on how to make it better. And respond.
So
tell us a little bit about that.
Okay, so we have, ever since I arrived in Charlotte, we've had incredible organizations, like mind-blowingly awesome. And they're kind of like distant cousins.
Okay.
They know each other pretty well.
Yep.
But they don't hang out unless it's a family reunion.
All right.
And what we're trying to do is get these major organizations to be a family.
Okay.
For the sake of those we say we serve.
Okay.
So right now, man, through our platform at CMPD, we're embracing and building a relationship between the marketplace, law enforcement, nonprofit organizations, churches and networks, to, in times of crisis and in times of opportunity to do something together, that we're all working together, one big circle, one big village for the city and communities of Charlotte. And it's a beautiful thing. It's coming together. Shout out to Pastor Dunn. Also, you too, Pastor Matt, for being a part of what we're trying to do, because God has given us the city and we need to be on the same page working together. So we're excited about that. Pastors, marketplace leaders, law enforcement, nonprofits, and then doing things together. So when a crisis does arise, you have a unified front and a communication network that can activate partners, man, to go out and make an impact together. And I totally believe that when the city sees us unified on the faith front, we'll be their North Star and be able to kind of give them that guiding light.
That'd be amazing.
So, yeah, man, we're working hard to do that.
That'd be great, dude.
Yeah, a lot of hard work, getting folks to do life together.
Man. All right, well, listen, I'm going to close this up.
What?
Because it's been a long time.
No more questions?
Oh, I'm sure that people got questions.
Okay.
You know, yeah. I tell you what, it's going to come out, and people are going to see this, and if they made it through the whole thing, right, they'll be yawning just like you. They made it through the whole thing. They're going to come Sunday.
Yeah.
And I'll tell them in between services, we got a 9 o'clock outside, we got 11 o'clock indoors. I'll tell them in between services, Pastor Theo's right there.
Yeah.
You didn't hear something mentioned that you wanted to hear a question of. You didn't, because we're in a no offense series. We'll be talking about getting over an offense.
Yeah.
But you wanted to ask something very specific. I'll just tell them Sunday's your day. You can come. Yeah. Come tackle Pastor Theo between services, after service.
Yeah.
You'll be happy to. We're having a prayer service right after the second service. Yeah. So between services is your best window of time. But man, I tell you, I just want to share with you, brother. Like I have a few that I can call very close friends, people of color that I can call and have a conversation with. I got a good friend who's adopted. I mean, he's got 6, 2 mixed boys and 4 from Ethiopian to Africa. I mean, they're all African American. They've they live a very different life, and I can engage in some of these conversations with people. I have always appreciated, this is just me saying, man, I've always appreciated the grace you give me, because I'm sure I can say things that might be offensive to some people. You've never taken offense. I appreciate that.
Yeah.
I'm sure I can say things being ignorant of something. And you've never taken offense to that. And I appreciate your candor as well to always say, well, listen, this might be how this is culturally, but you have always just pushed people back to Jesus. And I really appreciate that. I know in conversation you do that, and I know for a fact that as you're dealing with your church and as you deal with other people, you're saying the same thing I want to say, which is, guys, we have an identity. We have an identity, and it's Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
And we all have to put our eyes there, right?
Yeah.
That is, you want to know the solution to the problem is.
There it is.
It is Jesus Christ.
Yes.
It's absolute hope. It is grace. It is the way in which people see their sin, repent, and become followers, right? True followers of Jesus. So, man, thanks for doing this, brother. It's been so much fun, man.
Yeah, dude.
All right, guys, we will see you on Sunday.